Why do you think this is just, in your perspective, why do you think that a vast majority of the world still believes in an ancient book that was 5,000 or 2,000 or 1,500 years old? Why do you think people still accept that as common belief?
So firstly, I'm not so sure that it's a vast majority of the world who
Yeah.
believe in sacred text. You look at the population of China, for example, it's not very religious, and that's the largest population in the world. You look at a lot of European countries are not really very religious anymore either. I mean, they may be in some sense, officially Christian, but how seriously do they take it, right? You look at people in Europe who may say that they're Catholics, but they use contraception, they maybe go to church at Easter or Christmas or something like that. They don't take religion very seriously. So I think that there are a very large number of people in the world who are not religious, or for whom religion is not an important part of their lives. For the rest, well, sometimes it's tradition. It's very difficult to behave independently of a tradition. Clearly, religion is a kind of psychological prop for some people who are anxious or fearful about the idea of a world in which the life on this world is all there is. You're going to live your 70 or 80 years and that will be the end. And people would like to think that that's not the case. So I think it's a kind of, I would say, an understandable psychological crutch that people have to make it easier to face some of the problems of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like a lot of people in America use some of the Bible or some of these other books to support some of these things or work against some of these things like abortion, which I know you're big on, or same-sex marriage. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Yes. I think that the issues that you mentioned, abortion and same-sex marriage, are issues in which many people are influenced by traditional religious teachings. Not all of them, admittedly. I don't think the issues would completely go away without the religious belief. But in terms of how significant those issues are, clearly they're more significant in conservative or fundamentalist religious communities. And to the extent that a region is less religious, you'll also find less opposition. So, for example, the least religious parts of the United States are the northwest corner of the state of Washington, for example. And you don't find a lot of opposition to same-sex marriage or abortion in Washington or Oregon, places like that. So, and that's true in other countries as well. Where I originally come from, Australia, abortion is not a serious political issue because the two major parties have basically agreed that abortion should remain legal. And Australia is not a very religious country either compared to the United States. So that certainly does make a difference. And I find it odd actually that for Christians in particular that they focus so much on those two issues, where you don't find any discussion in the Gospels about abortion. You don't really find discussion about same-sex relationships either. You do in the Old Testament, but not so much in the Gospels. Whereas what you clearly do find in the Gospels again and again and again is an emphasis on helping the poor. Jesus says to the rich man that if he wants to be perfect, he has to give what he has and sell it and give it to the poor. And yet Christians in this country don't emphasize that. There are plenty of very devout and also very rich Christians who don't see an obligation to sell their goods and give them to the poor. So they're actually going directly against the explicit words of Jesus as reported in the Gospel. And they don't seem to have a problem with that, but they have a problem with women having abortion, which is not something that Jesus ever condemned.